Battle through the firmament. Great world. Chapter 526. As a last resort. The ultimate skill of a lowly soul demon. Grandma Bai took a deep breath and looked at Su Jiang. At this moment, the latter's eyes were filled with violence. A red color was constantly flowing out from his eyes, causing people to be afraid of him. This kind of look was exactly the same as what the few emperor cultivation in Capital of Chaos had. Kill them all. After controlling Su Jiang, Black Nether Emperor revealed a rare trace of fatigue. He coldly ordered, after which, he sat cross-legged in the air. Endless black ki surged over and enveloped him. Waves of shocking fluctuations were transmitted from within. Clearly, he was recovering from his injuries. Keke. The origin ki around Su Jiang whistled and emitted a bloodthirsty feeling. Both of his eyes were emotionless as he looked at the surrounding people. Under Black Nether Emperor's control, his strength had already far exceeded his previous strength. In fact, he was even stronger than Grandma Bai, who had used up a lot of energy. Damn it, what should we do now? Elder Shao stood beside Grandma Bai. His face was pale as he looked at Su Jiang, whose aura was rising steadily. The latter's strength was already stronger than his, and it had now reached a terrifying level. However, the current Yunlo Academy had used up a lot of resources except for Grandma Bai. When Black Nether Emperor recovered from his injuries, this place would fall into complete silence. There are no more origin ki in the Grand Formation. Grandma Bai calmed down and said in a deep voice, "No more." Elder Shao glanced at the outer domain, which had been raised to the ground. His voice was heavy. The origin kiss that had been stored within the Great Formation in the outer domain had been completely absorbed by Su Jiang and Shaoyan. There was not much left. I will block him. All of you, enter the inner domain. Grandma Bai spoke in a faint voice. Before Elder Shao could speak, she had already turned her body and rushed towards Su Jiang, who had an imposing manner. The walking stick in her hand swept forward. It carried a green origin ki blade that was several thousand feet long and whistled through the sky. Ugh! Elder Shao's 5 fingers trembled slightly as he saw Grandma Bai and Su Jiang quickly engage in an intense battle. He could only grit his teeth, and his eyes were filled with helplessness. Although Grandma Bai was only at the Monic cultivation, she was still in a fierce battle with the profound dark dragon snake. She had also blocked Black Nether Emperor's attack for a moment, and had even contacted Su Jiang and Shaoyan to heal their injuries. There were only a few origin kiss left in his body. Now, he was facing the controlled Su Jiang. The odds were against him. All elders, enter the inner academy. Elder Shao cried out in a low and furious voice. Many of the elders reacted in succession. Although they were unwilling, they could only carry out the order. They supported some of the seriously injured and unconscious elders and rushed towards the inner academy. The elders, who had been surrounded and killed by many people, would forever rest in this place. Due to Black Nether Emperor's identity being exposed and the deaths of their respective sect masters, many Monic Emperor chose to observe from afar. They looked at each other in dismay, not knowing what to do. All of you, enter the inner courtyard immediately. Elder Shao landed on the ground and looked at Wu Shaoqi and Xiaoao, who were supporting Shaoyan. Under Grandma Bai's treatment, although Shaoyan's body was still weak, his expression could barely walk. Cough. After hearing Elder Shao's words, Shaoyan did not respond. He lifted his head and looked at the distant sky. The battle between Su Jiang and Grandma Bai was becoming more intense. When he raised his hand and lifted his foot, the space around them trembled. The origin ki pillars whistled like dragons. Numerous origin ki chains struck the sky, and the sound of air being torn could be heard. In the air further away, an endless amount of black ki completely enveloped Black Nether Emperor. As the black ki filled the air, miserable and cold ghost cries were emitted. It was a ferocious and excited sound. Crack! Suddenly, a deafening cracking sound was transmitted into everyone's ears. After which, everyone saw Grandma Bai flying backwards. Her thin and weak body flew back for dozens of miles in the air before stabilizing. There was already a trace of a crack that could be seen with the naked eye on the crutch in her hand. All of you, quickly go in. Elder Shao was startled in his heart when he saw Grandma Bai's weak appearance. He furiously shouted at Xiaoyan and the other two. He wanted to go and help Grandma Bai. Wait a moment, Xiaoyan suddenly spoke, and it caused Elder Shao to stop in his tracks. Then, he looked at the former with a puzzled expression. I thought that this thing could be of no use. Xiaoyan shook his head with a bitter smile. He opened his palm, and a white runic symbol lay quietly in his palm. It was the runic symbol that the Great Elder had given him earlier, and it could destroy the outer court if necessary. Although he was unwilling, Xiaoyan could only take it out. Su Xiang was controlled by Black Nether Emperor. Grandma Bai alone was no match for him. Furthermore, there was also Black Nether Emperor, who was eyeing her covetously. I understand. When Elder Shao saw this, a complicated expression flashed across his eyes. Obviously, he also knew what this symbol represented. As he spoke, he took it from Xiaoyan's hand. If the outer court was really destroyed by this talisman, it would mean that the outer court would no longer exist in the Yunlo Academy. Although the entire outer court was in a mess right now, it would only take a short period of time for it to recover. However, if the white talisman exploded and destroyed the Grand Formation, the cornerstone of the outer court would be completely destroyed. It would take an unknown amount of time to rebuild the cornerstone. I know that you won't be satisfied. Since that's the case, I'll avenge the academy once your strength has increased. Elder Shao's voice was heavy as he turned around and said. Xiaoyan did not say a word. He lowered his head and allowed Wu Shaoqi and the Xiaoao to support him as he walked towards the inner courtyard. His gaze was fixed on the ground. An incomparable firmness slowly solidified in the depths of his eyes. Roar! At this moment, Su Xiang had completely transformed into a wild beast without any emotions. He did not feel the slightest pain. Grandma Bai's green key blade struck his body. Although there were many cuts on his skin, the former was even more excited. He charged over tirelessly and pressed Grandma Bai closer step by step. Boom! After being sent flying by Su Xiang again, Grandma Bai crashed into a mountain peak before stopping. She could not help but cough a few times and actually coughed out a few drops of blood. This little beast actually has such strength. Grandma Bai laughed bitterly. A layer of helplessness also surged into Grandma Bai's eyes. As a healing monarch cultivation sovereign, she would not bleed no matter how bombardment. There was actually blood flowing out. The strength of the latter was indeed not something that she could handle at the moment. Elder Shao inhaled a deep breath of air. He looked at the white symbol in his hand and was still hesitating. If this continued, it would be the complete destruction of the outer court. It was also very likely that Su Xiang would die. He was truly unable to be ruthless. Drink. Su Xiang's eyes were scarlet red and his ki was incomparably violent. After sending Grandma Bai flying, boundless blood ki surged out from his body. Several origin chains tore through the sky and wrapped around the blood ki that filled the sky. It faintly transformed into a huge blood python. Not good. He sensed the violent ki contained within the blood python. There was no time for him to think. The origin ki in his body curled up, and it was about to rush towards the white talisman in his hand. Who is this reckless? Who dares to invade the Yunlo Academy? Suddenly, a long whistle was heard from the direction of the inner courtyard. The sound was mixed with anger. Even those who were thousands of miles away could hear it clearly. This sound also attracted the attention of Elder Shao, Xiaoyan and the others who had yet to enter the inner courtyard. They could not help but look into the distance. There, a white rainbow light pierced through the space and arrived abruptly. Old woman, are you all right? A human figure appeared beside Grandma Bai. He fondled the latter's head of white hair in a loving manner, and his tone was filled with love. Chapter End. Battle Through the Firmament. Great World. Chapter 527. Picking Up Scraps. The person who came was Qi Yun, one of the two great Yunlo academies that protected the Yunlo Academy. Su Xiang has been controlled by Yav Mu. Grandma Bai lifted her eyelids and looked at the old man in front of her. She didn't show any signs of anger or caution towards the old man's actions and said softly, "Yuv Mu, I understand." Chi Yun let out a soft sigh and turned around abruptly. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, his sleeves fluttered as if the space had been shattered. He dispersed the giant blood python that was roaring at him, leaving behind only a large amount of blood mists that filled the sky. Swoosh! Without waiting for the crowd to react, Chi Yun stepped through the void. A white light flashed and appeared behind Su Jiang. Under Su Jiang's control, the latter's reaction was extremely slow. He waved his hand. It hit Su Jiang's neck hard. The red color in the latter's eyes immediately disappeared. It lost its luster and completely lost all its strength. It fell down powerlessly. Cal. Chi Yun waved his sleeve and picked up the unconscious Su Jiang by his waist. His eyes were filled with cold light as he looked into the distance expressionlessly. In that direction, the black fog that filled the sky was gradually dissipating. A slender figure slowly walked out from the black fog. Yuv Mu, the Yunlo Academy is a place where the heavens have given birth to a holy mantra. What can you rely on to come out in such a grand manner? Suppressing the anger in his chest, Chi Yun said in a cold voice. Heaven. Almost all of the injuries on Black Nether Emperor's body had disappeared. The fatigue from before had also disappeared. After listening to Chi Yun's words, he muttered softly and looked at the sky. The dark clouds in the sky had long been torn apart, revealing the clear blue sky. You're right, the heavens are searching for my traces now. However, you don't understand those people at all. Black Nether Emperor suddenly laughed mockingly and looked at Chi Yun with eyes full of ridicule. After the fall of the Star Lord, the Star Sky Tablet also broke into pieces. Who doesn't want to collect a few Star Domain Guardians to become a new Domain Lord? In order to find the Star Sky Tablet, they can search the entire world. They don't care about me that much. Do you know why? Chi Yun's face was gloomy and he didn't say anything. He just listened to Black Nether Emperor's cold roar. These guys are quite annoying. They're confident in their strength and believe that everything is under their control. No one can flip their palm. Therefore, they will never lower their status to attack me. After saying that, Black Nether Emperor suddenly chuckled. His smile was filled with intense killing intent. This is the common characteristic of the human race. Being arrogant and conceited was not the case for the soul demon race. In the face of all possible dangers, they must be killed in the germinal organization. Therefore, I'm here. As he spoke, Black Nether Emperor looked at Shaoyan with a cold smile on his face. As you said, the heavens still don't put you in their eyes, but you still dare to attack the Yunlo. Isn't that attracting their attention? Chi Yun had a mature mind. He didn't attack Black Nether Emperor recklessly. As he spoke, he tossed Su Jiang to Grandma Bai. No, no, no. You have underestimated the attraction of the Star Sky Tablet to them. It is a sacred object that is comparable to an ancestral holy weapon at its peak. I can't compare to it. However, it is also good. When I fully recover, I will definitely flatten the heavens, overthrow the Star Lord Spirit statue, and reforge the prosperity of the soul. Demon Clan. Black Nether Emperor laughed lightly. The killing intent in his words sent chills down one's spine. Then I would like to see if you can walk out of here. Chi Yun's eyes were filled with coldness. He was like a ferocious tiger that was ready to devour its prey. The aura of the Monic cultivation sovereign covered the sky and covered the earth, causing many capital of chaos in the surrounding capital of chaos to suffocate. Boom! In the next moment, Chi Yun's robe trembled, and he had already rushed out. He stepped on the void, and the origin key beside him whistled. It was a true dragon. The phoenix and the angry flood dragon surrounded his body and attacked Black Nether Emperor with a force that could destroy anything in its path. His might shook the heavens and the earth. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Black Nether Emperor stood proudly in the void. He stretched out his arms, and the black mist behind him moved like a tidal wave. It covered half of the sky in an instant. Suddenly, Several blood-red chains rushed out of the black mist. It was as if the chains had rushed out from the depths of hell. They carried the cries of countless evil ghosts, and the stench of blood soared to the sky. In an instant, the attacks of the two men collided, creating waves of ki waves that shook the heaven and earth, causing people to feel intimidated. Shaoyan, let's go in. Under the exchange of the two monic cultivation sovereigns, the origin ki between the heaven and earth seemed to have become extremely thin. Wu Shaoqi's pretty face was slightly pale as she urgently spoke. After shouting, Wu Shaoqi saw that Shaoyan did not have any reaction. She could not help but pinch the former with all her strength. Shaoyan suddenly reacted. Seeing Wu Shaoqi's anxious look, he shook his head hard and said, "You go in first. Xiaoao, follow me." As he spoke, he broke free from Wu Shaoqi's support and gently rushed into the distance. All right, the Xiaoao seemed to know what Shaoyan wanted to do. Its eyes were filled with excitement. You guys. Wu Shaoqi stomped her foot angrily and a trace of anger involuntarily appeared on her pretty face. She clenched her teeth and snorted softly before following closely behind Shaoyan and the Xiaoao. "Qi Yun, you must be careful. Don't be controlled by me. Otherwise, this academy will be completely hopeless." The space between his fingers trembled. Black Nether Emperor was full of energy, and his laughter echoed in all directions. Qi Yun did not say a word. Under the support of the vigorous origin ki, he also had the upper hand for a moment. However, he was also clearly aware that the Soul Demon clan was best at controlling. Battle was something that they were least good at. If they were not careful, they might really be captured by the former. Found it. Very quickly, Shaoyan's eyes lit up. He stopped in the middle of a canyon that was on the verge of collapsing. This canyon was formed from the collapse of two mountains. It just happened to cover the body of the mysterious dragon snake. Is this the profound serene dragon snake, which was as tall as a person, in front of her? Her pretty eyes were filled with surprise and bewilderment. That's right, Shaoyan smiled. His body flashed and he arrived beside the profound serene dragon snake. "Haha, I have picked up a treasure. This fellow has the strength of a holy beast. If I refine his blood essence, perhaps my azure dragon arts can reach the level of the holy arts." The Xiaoao shouted out in excitement. It didn't try to avoid Wu Shaoqi. Ever since the latter had almost died in the illusory spirit space after unsealing the seal, he had a very good impression of her. Azure dragon arts, holy arts. Wu Shaoqi's eyes widened when she heard this. Her face was filled with disbelief. Shaoyan smiled and did not say anything. His finger cut across the neck of the dragon. When he felt the indestructible scales of the dragon, he could not help but feel delighted in his heart. Just like what the Xiaoao had said, this fellow's entire body was full of treasures. Suddenly, a wave of energy blasted out from the distant sky. A huge wave of energy struck over. The mountain rocks were sent flying, and the corpse of the profound serene dragon snake was almost exposed in front of everyone's eyes. "Xiaoao, collect a drop of blood essence and leave immediately." Shaoyan's expression was solemn. He could clearly sense that someone was looking at this place. Moreover, this place was too close to the place where the two great monic cultivation sovereigns were fighting. If one was not careful, they would be affected. "All right," the Xiaoao responded. It turned around and arrived at the chest and abdomen of the profound serene dragon snake. This place was the closest to the latter's heart, so the blood essence was relatively easier to obtain. "Qi." The Xiaoao opened its 5 fingers, and a purple gold light extended out. Like 5 sharp blades, it ruthlessly slashed at the chest and abdomen of the mysterious dragon snake. Like a metal collision, it cut open a palm-sized wound, but no blood flowed out. "Its skin is really thick," the Xiaoao muttered. Its 5 fingers moved continuously. A moment later, waves of black blood flowed out from the wound of the mysterious dragon snake. A pungent smell was emitted. "What a sharp hand." Wu Shaoqi was stunned as she muttered to herself. Shaoyan smiled gently. This was the reason why he had brought the Xiaoao here. After both of them possessed the Azure Dragon bloodline, the purple gold origin key of the Xiaoao had greatly restrained the ordinary dragon race. Suddenly, Xiaoyan's expression changed. His eyes suddenly looked towards the pile of ruins not far away. There, a handsome young man in a white robe was looking at the three of them with a sneer on his face. Chapter End. Battle Through the Firmament. Great World. Chapter 528. The Killing Formation. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zhu Yan, an elder of Mercenary Alliance. Now, hand over the Realm Traversal Jade. The white-robed youth was handsome and elegant. He looked at Xiaoyan with a smile on his face. Realm Traversal Jade. Xiaoyan's pupils slightly shrunk. He looked at Zhu Yan with a smile that was not a smile. He said in a clear voice, "That is a good thing. Forgive me for not obeying your orders. Then I'll beat you until you hand it over." Zhu Yan's expression turned slightly cold. He put away the folding fan in his hand. The key around his body suddenly soared, and like a sharp sword, he rushed towards Xiaoyan. The space whistled, as if it was going to be torn apart at any moment. Xiaoyan stood in his original position, but he didn't move at all. With his current strength, the key of a mere Emperor cultivation wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Stop putting on an act. After the battle with Black Nether Emperor, if it wasn't for that old hag, you wouldn't even be able to stand up. Do you still want to fight me? Seeing Xiaoyan's expression, Zhu Yan let out a cold laugh and said indifferently. Then you can give it a try. The corner of Xiaoyan's mouth raised slightly. He tried his best not to reveal the weakness in his body. Just like what Zhu Yan had said, he really didn't have much combat strength left. The origin key in his body had almost been used up. He was afraid that even some ordinary monarch skill wouldn't be able to be used. The Mercenary Alliance attacked Xiaoyan first, so it's reasonable for them to take away the Realm Traversal Jade. Why, do you want to take it back now? What a wishful thinking. A cold voice sounded. Wu Shaoqi walked forward and stood beside Xiaoyan, showing no signs of fear. She was cultivating the Fire Emperor scripture, and her body already possessed a trace of ancient power. She didn't feel any discomfort from the suppression of the Emperor cultivation's key. Boom, boom. As soon as Wu Shaoqi's voice faded, a wave of ki blasted towards them. It was accompanied by the pressure of the Monarch cultivation sovereign, causing their faces to change. They almost fell to their knees. At such a close distance, every strike of Qi Yun and Black Nether Emperor would affect a few of them. Xiaoyan, we have obtained the blood essence. All of a sudden, the excited voice of the Xiaoao was heard, causing Xiaoyan's spirit to be lifted. His heart couldn't help but feel much better. Swoosh! Before Xiaoyan could speak, an origin key chain suddenly pierced through the air and smashed down. It forcefully flattened a mountain peak. After which, the remaining force did not reduce. It violently landed on the spot where the few of them were standing. The great strength that it carried surged over from all directions. It was as if 10,000 swords had fallen, causing one's entire body to feel a chill. Quickly leave. Wu Shaoqi was shocked. She did not have time to think before she pulled Xiaoyan, who was beside her, and used her movement technique to swiftly dodge into the distance. The Xiaoao also cried out loudly. It did not slow down at all under its feet as it closely followed Wu Shaoqi. Zhu Yan watched the three of them leave with his eyes. His expression was ashen, but he did not move to chase after them. He looked at the origin key chain that was getting closer and closer. A bright glint flickered in the former's eyes. His body suddenly moved. He did not retreat. Instead, he advanced and rushed towards the corpse of the profound serene dragon snake in front of him. Swoosh! The green origin key on his palm surged. Zhu Yan suddenly extended his arm into the blood-colored crack on the corpse of the profound serene dragon snake that had been broken by the Xiaoao. He had just extended his arm into it. A heart-piercing burning sensation surged into his palm. It caused his expression to suddenly change. His eyebrows were knitted and his handsome face became distorted. Ah! Zhu Yan furiously cried out. He endured the intense pain as his arm was suddenly pulled out from the profound serene dragon snake's corpse. A strange red blood drop was drifting in his palm. It was the blood essence of the latter. Swoosh! With the blood essence in his hand, Zhu Yan did not dare to stay any longer. He quickly used his movement technique, but he was still a step too slow. The origin keychains whistled down, and at the moment when he was about to dodge, they violently smashed onto the ground, hitting Zhu Yan's left leg. Woo! Zhu Yan was sent flying uncontrollably. An indescribable pain came from his left leg. Zhu Yan sucked in a cold breath of air and looked at his left leg. His left leg had long been badly mutilated, but in an instant, he no longer felt anything. With lingering fear in his heart, Zhu Yan looked at the origin keychain that had once again descended. Seeing that there was no one around, he hurriedly rushed up to the sky and supported his broken leg as he headed towards the capital of chaos. Being able to obtain a holy beast's blood drop wasn't in vain for him to injure his leg. Fortunately, that guy didn't chase after us. Seeing that she did not see Zhu Yan behind her, Wu Shaoqi let out a sigh of relief. Only then did she realize that she had been holding Xiaoyan's hand. Immediately, she shook it off and stuck out her tongue as she said, "I did not think of taking advantage of you. Don't let Zuna and the rest speak nonsense." Xiaoyan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Xiaoao received the blood essence of the profound serene dragon snake. When the blood essence entered his hand, Xiaoyan felt a heavy weight that was as heavy as 1,000 kilograms. It was rumored that a drop of blood from the Monic cultivation sovereign could kill. From the looks of it now, what he said was not false. As he held this blood essence, Xiaoyan immediately felt a restless sensation within his body. It was as though a white tiger was roaring and a black tortoise was hissing. Faintly, the cry of an azure dragon could be heard. The origin key within his body shook and surged like a tsunami. Qi Yun, your strength. Is that all? Where is your heroic spirit when you first appeared? Black Nether Emperor's thunder-like laughter was heard. It was so loud that it hurt people's eardrums. In the air, the battle between the two Monic cultivation sovereign had begun to show a clear winner. Due to Qi Yun being afraid of Black Nether Emperor's sudden control, he had split his attention to guard against it. Soon, he felt that he was at a disadvantage and was almost being suppressed by the former. Qi Yun's voice was deep and did not speak after hearing Black Nether Emperor's wild laughter. He glanced down from the corner of his eye and furiously roared. "Everyone, enter the inner academy." After hearing what Qi Yun said, he turned his hand and put away the white symbol. He swept his gaze over it and saw Xiaoyan and the other two people in the distance. A trace of anxiety appeared between his brows. His body flashed and appeared beside the three of them. He spoke in a deep voice. "All of you will obstruct Elder Qi here. Enter the inner academy immediately. It's too late. All of you must die." Without waiting for them to move, Black Nether Emperor's voice was heard once again. Behind him, boundless black fog filled the air, like a sea of black fog. Giant chains shot out, shaking the heavens and earth and shattering the void. It was as if they had formed a strange formation as they rushed towards Qi Yun. "Formation. You have actually mastered the formation." Qi Yun was stunned. The calmness in his eyes was completely gone as he said in astonishment. "Nonsense. I was once a supreme saint. Although my strength has been greatly reduced, I can still use a few killing formations." Black Nether Emperor's tone carried a hint of ridicule. He looked at Qi Yun as if he was staring at a dead man. Although the Monic cultivation sovereign was incomparably powerful in the eyes of ordinary people, in the eyes of a supreme saint, it was equivalent to a Monic emperor in the eyes of an emperor cultivation. There was no threat at all. The grand formation swept over like a millstone, crushing everything in its path. Powerful origin kiss spread out, carrying a might that shook the heavens and the earth. A formation was an ultimate killing ability that only heavenly sovereign-level experts could grasp. The powerful formation was no weaker than the holy arts. It was the Yunlo Academy's spirit origin formation. It was just an ordinary formation, and it was far from being comparable to the formation in front of them. Qi Yun was locked onto by the formation, and his facial expression turned slightly cold. He was still a little careless. When Su Xiang and Grandma Bai were fighting earlier, not only was Black Nether Emperor recovering from his injuries, he was also setting up the Grand Formation. The Grand Formation in front of him definitely had the power to severely injure him. Taking a deep breath, Qi Yun's eyes gradually became firm. Even if he died today, he would never let Yav Mu leave safely. Buzz, buzz. The Grand Formation was like a burning sun, emitting a force that could shake one's heart, crushing the void. Chapter End. Battle Through the Firmament. Great World. Chapter 529 The Horror of Awakening. Senior Mu. What happened outside? In the inner courtyard, on top of Wutan Peak, Zuna and Kai Lin were surrounding Mahiyu as they worriedly asked. Before this, a series of deafening explosions were heard from the outer courtyard, and each explosion caused everyone to tremble in fear. The purple light in Mahiyu's eyes flickered as if it had penetrated through an endless space and saw everything that was happening outside clearly. Suddenly, Mahiyu cried out in pain. The purple light in her eyes flashed and disappeared. Her eyes were unfocused and there was actually a trace of blood flowing out. Senior. Seeing the sudden situation, Zuna and Kai Lin were startled and hurriedly supported Mahiyu, who was about to fall to the ground. Her pretty face was filled with panic. Is that the sun? Mahiyu's eyes were tightly shut. She only spoke after a long while. There was a deep fear in her words. What is going on? Kai Lin forced herself to calm down as she softly inquired. At the same time as she spoke, Xiaoyan's figure involuntarily surfaced in her mind. Could something have happened to this fellow? Black Nether Emperor and Elder Qi Yun are fighting. My eyes suddenly hurt and I can't see anything clearly. Mahiyu frowned slightly, and there was a pitiful pain between her eyebrows. Didn't Elder Wu and the others come in? I need to ask them. Hearing this, a trace of panic flashed across Kai Lin's face. Before she finished speaking, she rushed down the mountain. Kai Lin. Zuna was unable to stop her and could only watch helplessly as the former left. She supported Mahiyu as she stood on the peak. A trace of anxiety also surfaced on Zuna's face. Don't worry. Elder Qi Yun and Grandma Bai are both outside. Xiaoyan will definitely be fine. Mahiyu gently closed her eyes. A purple light flickered at the corner of her eyes. That blood mark was also dissipating at a speed visible to the naked eye. It would be great if Big Brother was still here. After a pause, Mahiyu lightly sighed and a trace of regret appeared on her face. Zuna was silent, but in her heart, she was secretly praying that when two monic cultivation experts fought, no one else could interfere. Crack, crack, crack. The Grand Formation streaked across the sky like a meteor and instantly enveloped Qi Yun. Under the enormous pressure, the latter's expression changed slightly. As a unique technique of a heavenly sovereign warrior, the suppression of this formation was too obvious. It was just like the suppression of an emperor cultivation warrior's origin chains on a monic emperor warrior. Qi Yun stepped on the void, and under the suppression of the formation's aura, he raised both of his arms with great effort. Facing the endless howling of the wild wind, 5 origin chains gushed out of his body with a loud sound. The chains expanded with the wind, sweeping across the void like giant mountains. It crushed the heaven and earth, bringing with it an incomparably heavy pressure. The 5 giant chains spiraled together like an indestructible giant shield. Qi Yun was firmly protected inside. This won't do. The difference in aura is too great. At the border of the inner academy, Wu Shaoqi was unable to open her eyes due to the heat from the formation. Xiaoyan used refining monic Hai Tianyan to protect her eyes, but she did not feel anything. On the other hand, Xiaoao did not seem to care. It widened its eyes and looked at the sky. Elder Xiao's expression was similarly grave as he narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself. Quickly go in. When he came back to his senses, Elder Xiao suddenly looked at Xiaoyan and the other 2 people. He roared furiously, and his eyes looked like they were about to split open. Xiaoyan, hurry up and leave. Wu Shaoqi shouted softly. She grabbed Xiaoyan's arm and pulled him into the inner courtyard's formation barrier. Xiaoao naturally followed closely behind. Buzz! The moment the three of them entered, the blazing formation came into contact with Qi Yun's giant chain shield. A heaven and earth trembling aura was instantly ground out. It was as if the void was enduring this pressure and was cracking inch by inch. The formation was like a millstone, crushing the space and shaking the heavens. It was like a blazing sun, and the terrifying aura it emitted made everyone tremble in fear. Ah, my eyes! Boom! The instant the large formation made contact with the huge chain shield, some of the Monarch Emperor-level experts watching from afar let out miserable cries. The world in front of them instantly turned pitch black. 2 streams of blood and tears flowed out from the blind eyes. Immediately, a terrifying pressure spread over and directly shattered the bodies of these Monarch Emperor warriors. "Quickly leave this place," someone cried out in alarm. Everyone rushed into the sky, wanting to escape from this land of death. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Some of the weaker Monarch Emperor experts were crushed into dust by this aura before they could even escape. They didn't even have the time to let out a miserable cry before the aura swept over. Their flesh and blood were no longer there. Grandma Bai protected Su Jiang and dodged far away. She looked at the battlefield in the sky, which seemed to have burned the entire sky, and a shocked expression emerged on her face. The technique of a heavenly sovereign was powerful enough to destroy the heavens and earth. Once the killing formation was deployed, no one under the heavenly sovereign would be able to defend against it. A supreme expert who had just stepped into the heavenly sovereign had mastered the spatial law. It was a pity that most people could only comprehend the superficial knowledge of the spatial law. It was just spatial travel, and only peerless geniuses who were proficient in the true power of space could do it. Only those who had mastered it would be able to control the power of the array. The formation could even be used to create a world, and Yav Mu obviously belonged to the latter. Being able to become the king of the Soul Demon clan, his talent had naturally amazed countless generations. Fortunately, we are still far from the academy. Otherwise, by relying on the energy waves that spread out, even if we can't destroy the defensive formation, we would still be able to severely injure many of the people inside. Grandma Bai muttered to herself in a low voice. However, her eyes were filled with worry. Yav Mu's strength had been greatly reduced. She wondered if Qi Yun could withstand this attack. Crack, crack. All of a sudden, the sound of the heaven and earth splitting was heard by Grandma Bai. Her facial expression changed drastically as she stared at the center of the battlefield. Qi Yun's body flew out from the sky. His body was covered in blood and his ki was weak. Even with the protection of the 5 origin chains, he was still able to defend himself with his strongest defense. He was still defeated by Yav Mu. The power of the formation involved the power of space, and the law of the world. It was enough to defeat all Monarch cultivation warriors. It's over. Grandma Bai was shocked, and a complicated feeling emerged in her aged eyes. Qi Yun was defeated by a Monarch cultivation warrior, and his ultimate skill was a heavenly sovereign level warrior. As one of the 9 disciples of the Soul Demon, it was only natural for him to lose, but it was a disaster for the Yunlo Academy. Xiaoyan was standing on the mountain peak of the inner courtyard. Flames were flowing in his eyes. He passed through the formation that was flowing like ripples, and could clearly see what was happening outside. Qi Yun had been knocked down, and he had seen Elder Xiao take out the white talisman that he had put away. His face was ashen, but there was nothing he could do about it. It's over. I still have to thank you. I can actually form a formation now, even though the price is very high. Yav Mu stood in midair. His face was exhausted, but his eyes were filled with excitement. He seemed to have seen the prosperity of the Soul Demon clan in the near future. The formation in the sky gradually dissipated. The terrifying aura also slowly dissipated. Yav Mu, you can't destroy the Yunlo. All of a sudden, a loud and clear voice came out of nowhere. In the next moment, the space in the distance trembled slightly, and a crack spread out. Immediately after that, an old man stepped out from it, and looked at Yavmu with a pair of cold eyes. "That's Great Elder." Xiaoyan's heart trembled when he saw the man. He recalled where he had seen this man before. The clone of the former was still in the magma space below Heaven Pillar Peak. "I'm still not familiar with the use of the spatial power. You just broke through to the Heavenly Sovereign." Yavmu's facial expression changed, and then he spoke in a cold voice. However, there was a trace of anxiety in his eyes. "I wasn't the only one who came. Heaven's surmounting monarch and profound emperor are also behind us. I was the one who came first. They will be here soon." The old man was wearing a gray robe. He didn't attack Yavmu rashly. "You actually found them." Yavmu's expression changed drastically when he heard this, and his tone became much colder. These two people were both monarch cultivation sovereigns. If the three of them joined forces, with his current condition, even if he didn't die, he would still be seriously injured. "It took some effort, or else I wouldn't have let you be so arrogant until now." The old man's expression was cold. As he spoke, two auras shot into the sky from behind him. It was obvious that there were two experts rushing over. "Damn it." Yavmu's expression was gloomy. His eyes paused and looked into the distance. "There are a total of 9 soul demon disciples. There are only 8 left. Do you have any news?" Upon seeing this, the old man was startled and hurriedly asked, "What do you think? Otherwise, why would I spend so much time playing around?" Yavmu sneered. Suddenly, his body exploded. Boundless black ki soared into the sky and split into millions of black ki that rushed in all directions. At the same time, a cold voice resounded in all directions, "All of you just wait. The soul demon's nightmare will envelop this world." The old man's eyes were like a torch, but he had no idea what to do. He did not know that Yavmu's real body was that black ki. However, after a moment, all of the black ki had disappeared without a trace. At the same time, in an abyss in the star-severing mountain range, the black ki suddenly soared to the sky, as if a devil god had awakened and returned to the 9 underworlds. Profound Yin Castle, Profound Yin Sect. Yin Juxuan suddenly opened his eyes. A touch of red emerged from the depths of his eyes. Looking at the endless darkness in front of him, he couldn't help but let out a ferocious laugh. "Your Majesty, you are finally going to wake up." Chapter End. Battle Through the Firmament. Great World. Chapter 530. The crisis has been resolved. Swoosh. When Yavmu left, the elders who were anxiously waiting in the inner academy involuntarily came out one after another. They looked at the gray-robed old man in the horizon and a zealousness surged into their eyes. When the Yunlo Academy was about to fall, the latter was like a god that had descended from the heavens and forced Yavmu to leave. There were probably not many people in the world who possessed this kind of strength. Xiaoyan's tensed nerves finally relaxed. His eyes turned black and the strength that he had been forcing himself to endure was no longer able to support his weak body. He fell straight to the ground. Wu Shaoqi reacted quickly and hugged him. She sniffed the fragrance that was transmitted from the tip of her nose and Xiaoyan fell into a deep slumber in a daze. "Bring him in to rest." Su Jiang sighed. His aged face was also filled with endless exhaustion. He waved his hand and said softly, "This time, it was all thanks to Xiaoyan's help that the burden on the elders was greatly reduced. He had also effectively blocked the joint attack of numerous monarch emperor warriors in Capital of Chaos, and finally, he fought Yavmu. If it wasn't for the fact that Su Jiang was suddenly controlled, he would have been seriously injured." Hong Long. When Elder Shao thought of Su Jiang, he looked towards Grandma Bai. The latter had already managed to control most of Su Jiang's injuries, and his life was no longer in danger. What a scary guy. He can easily control Su Jiang with just the strength of a monarch cultivation. If he recovers to his peak strength, it will be hard to imagine. Elder Shao smacked his tongue and watched Wu Shaoqi and Xiaoao carry Xiaoyan into the hall. He shook his head and soared into the sky, heading towards the Great Elder's direction. In the distance, Qiyun had already appeared. His ki was in disorder, and it was obvious that he had suffered some serious injuries. Bang! Before Elder Shao could go forward, 2 rays of light suddenly arrived, as if they were starlights that had cut through the sky. The rays of light dispersed, and 2 human figures appeared. A middle-aged man was wearing a red robe. He was tall and straight, and his tiger eyes flickered with a bright light. His eyes seemed to be able to see through people. He had the demeanor of a king, and he was none other than Profound Emperor. The other person had the appearance of an old man. His white eyebrows were lowered. His eyebrows were thick, almost as if they were connected together. He was thin and was wrapped in a green robe. He was like an immortal who was untainted by the mortal world, and had the demeanor of a transcendent being. He was the rumored heaven-surmounting monarch. I'm still a step too late. As soon as he appeared, Profound Emperor's voice was muffled like thunder, and his eyes were filled with anger. He was extremely furious about Yav Mu's departure. If he wants to leave, the 3 of us really can't stop him. Heaven-surmounting monarch, who was standing beside him, raised his eyes and spoke faintly. His voice seemed to have a magic that could make people submit to him. Profound Emperor coldly snorted. Although his face was still as dark as water, he didn't say anything. I have troubled the 2 of you to come out of the mountain, but this is the result. It's a pity, a pity. The first elder smiled helplessly and cupped his hands towards the 2 people beside him. He felt extremely regretful in his heart. Brother Mo is being too serious. Yav Mu is ambitious. He actually wants to take control of the entire capital of chaos. The 2 of us should have noticed this long ago. This matter is our fault. Heaven-surmounting monarch returned the salute with a heavy tone. The capital of chaos. Qi Yun, Bai Ying. Thank you all for your hard work. It's already very good that you are able to do this. The great elder didn't seem to care about the raised outer domain. He shook his head and looked at Qi Yun and Grandma Bai with a smile. Shame, shame, I let teacher down. Qi Yun smiled bitterly and looked at Grandma Bai. He then sighed and looked at the great elder. Yu Mu is more powerful than you think. The great elder pursed his lips and still had a faint smile on his face. After that, his eyes swept across the crowd below, and a trace of a smile emerged in his eyes. The cornerstone of the outer domain is still here. Very good, very good. As he spoke, a trace of killing intent suddenly flashed across his eyes. He said in a cold voice, the elders of Yunlo who died because of this will have to pay him back 100 times in the future. Elder Shao, who was standing far away, could not help but smile bitterly when he heard this. He had wanted to detonate the cornerstone of the outer court several times. Fortunately, the situation had changed at the last moment. Otherwise, even if he detonated the cornerstone of the outer court to protect the academy, he would not be able to feel at ease. The 2 of you, please follow me. The first elder swept his eyes below and cupped his hands slightly towards heaven surmounting monarch and the other 2. After which, he rushed towards the inner academy. He had spent a great amount of effort to invite the 2 of them out this time around mainly because of Yav Mu. According to what the latter had said, he had already found news of the other 9 disciples. This matter was really too important and they needed to take action. Watching the 3 of them leave, Grandma Bai let out a long sigh and looked at Elder Shao, who was standing at the side, and said with a bitter smile. Su Jiang is seriously injured and unconscious. I estimate that he won't be able to wake up for a period of time. During this period of time, the rebuilding of the outer courtyard will depend on you to take charge of the overall situation. Elder Shao smiled helplessly and nodded his head. Although the rebuilding of the outer court was troublesome, it was still much better than detonating the cornerstone. Old man, let's go. Behind her, the green vines wrapped around the unconscious Su Jiang and a few fainted elders. Grandma Bai's face was also full of exhaustion. This battle had consumed too much of her energy. There's no hurry. Qi Yun's eyes lit up. He suddenly rushed into the distance and arrived at a place that was almost razed to the ground. With a wave of his sleeve, sand and stones flew everywhere, revealing the corpse of the profound serene dragon snake that was buried underneath. Putting away the corpse of the former, Chi-Yun returned to Grandma Bai's side once again. Looking at the puzzled eyes of the latter, Chi-Yun suddenly smiled and said in a soft voice. This time, Yavmu possessed Black Nether Emperor and caused a mess in Capital of Chaos. He almost destroyed the Yunlo Academy. Profound Emperor and Heaven Surmounting Monarch also have responsibilities that cannot be shirked. I'm sure they will feel guilty as well. After a pause, the smile on Chi-Yun's face became even wider. Like an old fox, he said, Profound Emperor's refining skills are outstanding. I suppose he wouldn't refuse to help the Yunlo refine a few heavenly weapons. So that's what you're thinking. Grandma Bai suddenly realized what was going on and nodded with a smile. The dark dragon snake was a monarch cultivation holy beast, and with its body, it could be used to forge a heavenly weapon. Its quality shouldn't be bad. Those two old fellows have been living in seclusion in the mountain forest all year round. I don't know where they are cultivating, so I have to seize this opportunity. Besides, that little fellow Xiaoyan has also helped the academy a lot. Heaven Surmounting Monarch is also there, so it's good to let him bleed a little. Chi-Yun's eyes flickered with a profound light as he analyzed the situation. Looking at the two teachers who had designs on Profound Emperor and Heaven Surmounting Monarch, Elder Xiao's face twitched slightly. He smacked his tongue and turned around to leave. It was likely that only these two would have the face to make Profound Emperor and Heaven Surmounting Monarch attack. Inner Academy. Everyone who was on tenterhooks let out earth-shaking cheers after hearing the news that the enemy had retreated. Some of the elders could not help but cry. They knew what kind of crisis the Yunlo was facing this time around. Some of their companions had even lost their lives. How could they not be excited when the crisis was resolved this time around? Compared to the cheers from the other parts of the Inner Academy that could not be stopped for a long time, the Wooten Peak was much calmer. When Wu Shaoqi and Xiaoao helped Xiaoyan over, everyone nervously stepped forward. Only when Grandma Bai came over and diagnosed that there were no serious injuries did the few women finally relax. The tears in their eyes also disappeared. Xiaoyan has already far surpassed me. He already has the strength to defeat all of you. Mu Yuyang, Lin Dao, I wonder to what extent have all of you reached now. On the heavenly peak of Realm in Valley, Xiao Yi's clothes were tattered. He sat powerlessly in front of the stone table, looking at the sunset that was slowly falling from the sky. His eyes were filled with complicated emotions. In the remote mountains adjacent to the capital of chaos, Xiao Tianya's body was full of violence. His eyes were scarlet red, as if he was a devil that had just walked out of a region. Lightning crackled around his body, and the area within a few hundred miles of him had turned into scorched earth. Under his body, the corpses of 3 Thunder Cloud Clan's clansmen had already been separated from their bodies. It was a miserable sight to behold. Suddenly, Xiao Tianye threw his head back and roared furiously. The lightning on his body soared into the sky like a long sword of lightning that seemed to pierce through the heavens. At the same time, his aura suddenly soared, and he had reached an even stronger realm. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.